welcome to my channel. Thanks for tuning in again. I've had a really busy week this week, kind of just trying to organise everything for the year ahead. I don't know if you saw last week, but I set up my new gravel bike because I'm going to be doing some gravel racing, some sort of adventure endurance stuff, bike packing, that sort of thing. So that's really exciting. But even better, I've just entered the first fixed gear crit of the season. Well, it's not the first fixed gear crit, it's the first one I've entered. I've just entered Thunder Crit, which takes place up in Lee Valley Velo Park in London. So, with that in mind, I thought I would reply to some of the requests on my Instagram for a fixed gear tips for beginners video, specifically fixed gear crit racing tips. So I wanted to present to you what I consider to be the 10 crucial, critical things that you need to remember if you're going to race your first fixed gear crit. Or not even your first one, just if you're going to race a fixed gear crit. So I hope you find all these points useful. As you probably know, I've raced heaps of fixed gear crits for several years now, so hopefully I know what I'm doing. So, number one, you need to get the right equipment. Now this is the most important thing. There's a big difference between a road frame and a track frame. The main thing would be that you need to have horizontal dropouts so that your wheel can't basically fall out. So a road frame conversion is not going to cut it. You really need to have a fixed gear or track specific bike with horizontal dropouts. That's going to have a higher bottom bracket as well, which makes you less likely to get pedal strike when you're cornering. And if you've got shorter cranks on as well, then that's going to really help. Obviously, you're going to need drop handlebars. You can't race any fixed gear crits with any other kind of handlebars. It's just not permitted. So that's my first tip. Get your equipment sorted before you even consider racing a fixed gear crit. Number 2, select your gearing. Now this is always a really hot topic at races, what gearing you should use to make the most of the course. Basically, if it's a really wide open fast course and there aren't many technical sharp turns where you're going to have to slow down and sprint out of the corner, then you can get away with using a much bigger gear. As a general rule of thumb, I would probably go for 48-14 or 49-15. That's quite a good place to start. And then usually what I do is I will ride that gearing in the open practice and even in the qualifications, and I'll take some different chain rings and sprockets with me, and then if I need to change for the main race, then I can make my gearing harder or a bit lighter. Number 3. You need to practice. You need to practice slowing down for corners, you need to practice cornering, and you need to practice sprinting out of the corners. Those 3 things are the main things that you're going to need to do in a fixed gear crit. So if you haven't got access to like a closed road circuit where it's safe for you to practice all that sort of stuff, I would recommend you put a brake on your fixed gear bike and head out to an industrial estate at night where you can do fast laps and practice all your corners, slowing down, all that sort of thing. The slowing down before corners where you're back pedaling is really tiring on your legs if you don't practice it, because you basically never do that on a road bike if you normally ride a road bike. So it's really helpful to practice that in advance of your first race. My next tip is practice riding in close proximity to other riders. When you're in a race, you are going to be right next to everyone else. Well, hopefully, because otherwise you got dropped. But you're going to be riding and cornering right next to another person. You're potentially going to be on someone's wheel. You might have someone on your wheel. You need to get super comfortable with doing that. So in my opinion, the best thing to do is to join a cycling club. I'm kind of sort of assuming you've got a road bike there because you can't really go on club runs on a fixed gear bike. But if you've got a road bike, join a cycling club, go out on their Sunday club runs, get used to riding really close with other people. If you can't do that, then just recruit your mates and go out on a training ride. Practice riding really close to each other and just make sure that you feel comfortable doing that. Practicing cornering together would be even better if you can both make it down to the Velo Park or something. But yeah, just get used to being around other people all the time and kind of feeling comfortable with that. My next tip, this one is really important and often overlooked. Practice clipping in. At the start of a fixed gear crit, you're going to start with 1 foot on the ground, stationary, and when the bell goes, you have to quickly clip your other foot in as you're getting going. And if you mess that up, you get dropped immediately and it just makes life really, really hard. I've messed it up, even though I should and do know how to clip in, but you know, it happens. The point is, if you practice in advance and you're using some shoes and clips that you're really used to using, then you should be able to get your foot straight in, and then you don't get left behind and everyone sprints off without you. On that note, it is worth making sure that you've got extremely, extremely good pedals and clips, because you don't want to be coming unclipped at any point in the race. So make sure they are tight, they're new enough, not worn away, and that your foot is not coming out. You can't be using toe straps either. You've got to be clipped in. My next tip is to find a local crit and just practice, practice, practice. Again, I'm making an assumption here that you've got a road bike, and I'm sorry if you haven't, but actually if you join a cycling club you might be able to borrow one. But for me, the best thing best way of training for racing is by racing. So if you can, then get down to your local crit and practice riding with other people. If you suck at first and you get dropped immediately, so be it. That's the way it goes for most people. Just get down there, keep practicing, keep going back. And then when you turn up to your first fixed gear crit, you're really going to have an advantage. My next tip concerns what happens in the race. I would always say you need to be mindful of the fact you can make a big, big effort right now, or you can suffer for much longer later. So short, sharp effort now or longer suffering. What I mean is this: if it looks like you're going to lose someone's wheel and they're about to disappear off without you, you do everything you can to stay with them. Everything. You go above and beyond not to get dropped, because making that enormous effort now means that later you're not stuck out on your own in the wind battling for hours trying to get back to the pack, because that's just kind of awful. So yeah, make the big effort now. Always, always, always try and stick with the group or the wheel. Another really good tip is to actually train your mind. We spend a lot of time working on our bodies, but totally disregard what's going on up here. And what's going on up here is one of the main important things, you know, one of the most important things in terms of being a successful bike racer. You need to believe that you are meant to be in that race, that you deserve to be in that race, and that you're well prepared. So be well prepared. But the main thing is, don't turn up to the race saying to everyone, oh, I'm going to suck, oh, I'm really slow, or this is not going to go well. Just don't do that. Don't do that. Train that out of your head. You need to work on having a positive mindset. When you're in the race, you should be not thinking, I can't do it. You think, I can, I am, I'm here. And the other thing is, don't forget to have fun. Like, whenever I'm riding around in a race, you might see me smiling. It's not because I'm not trying. It's because I'm enjoying being there. I do a lot of really, really hard training that's pretty brutal. And when I'm in the race, that's my moment to enjoy all the hard work that I've done over winter. That's the time to be like, yay, this is awesome. So don't forget to have fun. Tip number, I don't know, 8. I think I've got 11 tips. I was going to do 10, but then I had another one. Tip number 8 is don't pump up your tyres crazy hard. So nowadays we've realised that you don't have to run super skinny 23C tyres and pump them up to 120 psi. You are better off running a wider tyre, even on a wider rim, and having lower pressure. It gives you much more traction, and that's particularly important in the wet and when it's a really technical circuit, so there's a lot of cornering. I actually had my tyres really, really low at some of the races I did this year. I think down to, well, it's really low for me. I went down to about 70, and I felt that gave me a lot more grip. I've heard of other people putting their tyres right down to, say, 45 psi, and that giving them improved grip. I haven't tried that, but anyway, the point is you don't need to go up to 120 psi. On that note with tyres, invest wisely. There is no point in turning up with rubbish tyres that don't have good grip, that don't have, that don't perform well, because tyres are kind of an integral part of your safety and other people's safety. You know, you don't want to be slipping over because you've got rubbish tyres, so save up and invest in a decent pair. Tip number 10, maybe? Choose your races wisely. So Red Hook Crit is very exciting, but it can be slightly demoralising to turn up at a race, just do the qualifications, get your ass handed to you, and then just be out. If you look for a local race, it might have an A and a B category, so you're gonna always get a good chance of racing. The race that I'm doing, Thunder Crit, in May, they've got an A and B category for the men and also an A and B final for the women. So it means that if you're a bit unsure about racing, or you don't feel like you're quite as fit as you want to be, you can go in the B category and you're going to get a really good day. It's also a really good fun event, so look out for events like that. I'm not saying don't aim for the top and go straight in at Red Hook Crit and things like that, but if you have little experience of riding fixed gear and you're not in super good shape, then I just think it's going to be super duper hard for you. My final tip, these are not in any order, it's just the order I thought of them, is don't start at the back. There's this temptation when you're a new racer to be like, oh, I'll just stay here out of everyone's way. But the point is, you're going to make it way harder for yourself. And as a new racer, you need things to be easier, not harder. So don't make things impossible by starting right at the back. Because then, if everyone sprints off and the gap opens up, your race is over. Give yourself a chance. So I hope you found those tips useful. I'm more than happy to share any further tips if you want them, or if there's anything else you want to know about fixed gear crit racing, please do leave me any comments and questions below. And other than that, see you in a race. Let me know if you're going to do any of them. Maybe Thunder Crit. What are your plans this year? I'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.